Bookworms. Today I'm here with Cassie and Melissa for our Spines with Wines book club edition of The Rose and the Dagger, which is the second book in the Wrath and the Dawn duology. So if you have not yet read the first book, The Wrath and the Dawn, and you want to, then you should wait to watch this because there will be a lot of spoilers for that book, and we're also going to be spoiling the second book because we're just going to talk about everything that happened. So if you guys want to introduce yourselves and start off by telling us a little bit about your wines.
Hello, I'm Melissa, and I am drinking this delicious wine called Water with Crystal Light. And what are you drinking, Cassie?
I'm drinking a real wine. It's called Ruby Red Rosé with grapefruit, and I bought it because I thought it would be funny to buy a rosé in the Dagger.
I saw your photo. I was like, this is so great, the Rose and the Dagger.
Also, the grapefruit was pretty. It kind of reminded me of like Shazzy's dress on the cover, so I was like, okay.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a pun, and I thought about it.
I am drinking out of my BB-8 mug. I am drinking Oprah's chai tea because I just got back from BEA and I'm sick. So I had Dayquil so that I would be able to like be alive during this, and now I'm just be chugging tea all day, hoping that I will get better very soon.
Guys, this wine is disgusting.
Oh no, really? That's unfortunate.
It's okay. I've got some water that kind of looks like pee. Crystal Light.
It's like flowers.
Well,
I don't like
it's not enjoyable. Do either of you want to give a synopsis of the book or the series?
Cassie?
Sure. Well, the first book was based on a retelling of 1001 Nights, and it was really great. And the second one was less about that and more about, what was it about? Breaking the curse that Khalid is under. And what's this book about? I read this book at the end of April. Yeah, it's about true love and magic and curses.
Great.
Nailed it.
Yeah. Okay, so because this was the second book in the series, there's a lot of the world building that went on in the first book, and then things do kind of take a turn once we get to book 2, but how do you think that that kind of impacted the storytelling this time versus the storytelling in The Wrath and the Dawn?
I actually really enjoyed her world building in the first books. I thought she did a beautiful job, and it really just it made the book so much richer. So I kind of wanted a little bit more in this book, but I don't think it impacted it in a bad way. I feel like it was kind of like, okay, you know what's going on, so now we can just get straight to the action, straight to like, let's figure this shit out, let's break this curse and all that kind of stuff. So I thought it was fine without it, but I wouldn't have minded it a little more.
Yeah, I agree. It was a lot more plot-driven, which I liked, but then they added like 8,000 times more like fantasy elements, and I didn't feel like we got to know too much about that.
Yeah, I am going to get into that a little bit later, but I also wish that there would have been a little bit more description in regard to certain things that happened in this book. I really, really, really love the world building in The Wrath and the Dawn, and I feel like there could have been so much more of it in this book.
Definitely.
What did you think about how Renee Ahdieh kind of chose to follow the trope of the love interest spending a chunk of time apart in the second book?
I hated it. It was horrible. I was so annoyed. I'm so glad that she didn't wait until like the very end and they got together like relatively sooner than I thought they would. But like for me, it's so torturous. I mean, their romance and like sexy scenes in the first book were so good that I wanted like 50 times that in this one.
Yeah, I've read books where I like it more than I did here, probably because I was so invested in their love story, and it was a little strange to me when Shazzy goes back to see him, and it's kind of like, oh, hey, hi, I'm back.
Uh-huh.
It was like so sudden. I was like, couldn't you have just done that like weeks ago? I don't. Why were you? Nothing was keeping you apart, really.
Yeah.
I it really bothered me because I felt like in the beginning, obviously like the beginning of the first book, I was like, I hate this guy because he's horrible and like killing all these women. And then you find out about this curse and you're like, oh my God, he's a tortured soul. And like, her fall in love with him. And like, even though obviously it's really bad that he's done all of that, you kind of start to like sympathize with him and you're like, oh, they need to be together. And then all of a sudden they're just like not together for a long time. And that like drove me insane.
Yes.
I think that's like the one thing that I really wanted more out of this book than anything else was that I felt like I just wanted them to have had more time together.
Yeah.
We also get to see a lot more of Tarek in this book. How did you guys feel about that?
To be honest, he wasn't my favorite character. Like, in the first book, I was just kind of like, please don't let this be a love triangle type thing. But I actually liked the direction his character went, how he ended up becoming more open-minded and accepting, which you usually don't see, because he's kind of presented in the first book as a very, like, narrow-minded. Like, I thought he was going to end up being the villain of this book, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, like, at first I'm like, oh, this is so obvious. Like, Khalid against Tarek, I call him Tariq in my mind. But, but yeah, I did like the direction it went, although he's just, he's like okay to me.
Yeah, I feel like he had a good growth, though, which I guess was important for the end of the book, which is maybe the only reason he grew as a person was because they needed him.
Yeah, I hated him in the first book, and I really, like, didn't care about him, and I didn't want to see him at all, and a lot of his scenes, like, made me kind of uncomfortable, because he just seemed, like, I don't know, I just didn't like the way that he kind of went about doing things, and, like, he has that attitude where, like, he knows better and everything, so he just, like, bothered me, and I was like, oh, just go away, I just want to see more about Khalid.
Right. Like, kissing her while she's sleeping, creepy.
Oh, yeah, that was weird. That was some Edward Cullen shit right there.
Yeah, that was, no. Another new character that we meet in this book was really interesting, and I want to know, do you guys wish that Shazi would have met Arton sooner? The guy that, like, kind of teaches her about magic?
Oh, I loved Arton. I thought he was one of my favorite additions. I really wanted, like, an 80s montage training scene with them learning magic, and, like, I loved that, like, mini chapter we got. Like, I wish there was more of that, and I would have loved to have met him just maybe at the beginning of the book instead of, towards the middle.
He was badass. He reminded me of Aang from The Last Airbender for some reason.
Me too!
Loved his little, like, dragon friend who was, like never-ending story dragon. I was like, oh, these are great. And I loved that scene where they're all marching toward, the castle to, like, get back.
That was so cool.
He's, like, flying on the dragon. I was like, oh, I'd pee myself if I were those soldiers.
Yeah, I wish that there would have been, like, more of a story for him in the first book, too.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would have been amazing. Like, he probably would have been my favorite series if that were the case.
I also really loved that backstory he told about his family. That was
that
brought back some of that. That brought back some of that story within a story stuff I loved from the first book. But
I loved that. Yeah, I loved that.
So were you more of a fan of the fantastical elements that were introduced in the sequel?
Yeah, I was. I mean, I think they were necessary. Like, I loved the first book as it was. But I did think, like, obviously I loved when she started learning how to do magic, but it was very light, it wasn't, like, the main plot point. It was just kind of, like, an extra. Like, sometimes I would forget entirely, and then she'd be like, oh, yeah, then I can make this carpet fly, or, then we can do this. I'm like, oh, yeah, she has magic. Like, it was very light, which was okay. So, and I loved, like, the mythical beast. I thought that was badass,
I liked that they brought more in, because I feel like the first one was, like, even lighter. The first one was like, this carpet may be magic, I guess, and also your dad can play with magic. That's it. That's, like, I feel like all the first one was. So this one was nice to have a little more, but well, could have, I don't know, used a little more even. Because,
Yeah.
like, they go visit, like, the aunt, and, like, she only seemed to be there to explain how to break the curse, and I was like, she's going to be lying to them, something crazy's going to happen. But no, she told him the truth, and he, like, broke the curse really easily, and it was...
Yeah, that was...
Yeah. I obviously love magic, and I love reading about magic, but I wish that there would have been more of it in the first book.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, I feel like there was magic in this one, but it still was very light, like a lot later than I was expecting.
Yeah.
Which actually, were you disappointed in any way that there wasn't more of an explanation about how it worked?
No, I don't really need an explanation. Sometimes I think that takes away from the story and, like, the imagination. You know, I mean, I think maybe if something was a little bit more implied, I would have been okay with it. But I mean, I was fine without explanation.
Yeah, I think it worked in this book too because it's not a real place. It's like this weird fictional Middle Eastern type locale. So it's like, oh, well, they just have magic there. That's fine.
I feel like I kind of wish that there would have been just a little bit more, because things kind of, like, okay, so, like, the first book was very non-magical until the end.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just seemed like a strange transition from, like, non-magic to, like, all of a sudden magical things are kind of happening.
Full on magic.
Why wouldn't they happening more in the first book if they've always existed in this world?
Do they know? Do other people know there's magic?
I don't know. I was very confused about that.
Like, did they see that flying thing and they're like, oh my god, what's happening?
Like, what is this mythical beast?
Yeah.
Like,
What is that? What's happening?
Okay, and then last question, like, related to that, do you think that everything kind of came together too easily at the end for all the characters?
Actually, yeah, I kind of do. I feel like everything was very neat. You know, like, you just destroyed the book in, like, 10 seconds, you know, and I was like, oh, okay, like, literally the curse is the main problem of, like, the first book, and they solve it in a second, and, like, no one brings it up for, like, 4 chapters. Like, oh, by the way, like, I knew you destroyed the book. Like, okay, like, this huge curse is lifted. Like, a little more emphasis, please, because it's a big deal. Almost curse. And I'm just, I don't know. I mean, that kind of, like, bothered me a little bit. But obviously I love happy endings, so I was very happy. But it did come together a little too neatly.
Yeah, like I said, I was like, oh, he's gonna try to destroy the book, and it's gonna, like, be this big crazy thing, and, like, it's not gonna work, or she lied to him, they're gonna figure out another way to fix it. But then she's like, oh, what did you do with the book? He's like, Dad, it's fine, I took care of it. Totally took care of it. Oh, they're like, on to this new problem. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
But that was the whole plot of the first book.
I was, like, shocked, and I originally thought, like, that maybe I missed it or something. I was like, did I, like, fall asleep and miss this, like, huge chapter about how they, like, went through all of this stuff to try to destroy this book? And so I, like, went back and reread a little bit, and I was like, no, it's all of a sudden he just destroyed it, and, like, that's it. So
it was so easy.
I felt like that was just too simple. It was, like, not enough of a payoff for something that was so built up.
No. Not at all. I just feel like this was literally the main plot point of the entire. This is why he killed her best friend. This is why he's killing people. And skirt over it. You know, he's not even sure if it worked. We don't even know if it worked.
Yeah.
She's kidnapped. Like, not.
He took a nap, so you know it worked.
Yeah, I guess so. But then he woke up and he was, like, expressing confusion about it. Like, oh, like, I don't know if it works. We'll see. And so I'm like, ooh, what's going to happen? Because, we barely talked about it.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Can we just talk about, like, one of my favorite elements of this book, which is Despina?
Oh, my God. Wild. I did not see that coming. That was a little shocking for me. That was wild. She was like a triple agent. That was awesome.
That was so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of knew, though, like, when she was there that, like, there was no way she was going to be, like, that mean. Like, it was it was a little obvious that she was going to be like a quadruple agent. So.
You think so? Because I like turned on her real quick.
I was like pissed off.
There was like that reveal. I was like, no. She was like one of my favorites in the first book, and I was like, I hate her. I was so angry. And then then there was another reveal, and I was just like, what?
And then you're like, well, I still don't trust you because.
No, then I totally
might be a bad person.
I just felt really bad about not trusting her to begin with.
Oh my god, that was wild.
Well, that would have been the craziest twist if, like, she was evil and she stayed evil. Like, that would have everything. That would have ruined her romance and her baby and all that.
Yeah, but I knew they wouldn't do that. It was kind of obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I just really was not expecting that twice.
Yeah, I think Kristen texted me. She's like, wait till you get to page, blah. And then I got there and I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Look at that monster.
It was shocking.
Mm-hmm.
So who are your favorite secondary characters in the book? Books, plural.
Arton. He was awesome. What else do I like? You mean besides Khalid and Shazi?
Yeah, secondary.
Oh, her sister. She was cool.
I also liked her sister's boyfriend.
Raheem.
Yeah.
That was really sad.
Yeah, that was sad.
Let's talk about, can we talk about who we hated?
Yeah.
Which is their dad. He was the worst character in the whole book.
I agree. I did not like him at all.
He was a really bad father.
He was horrible. He was like such a wimp, like so like pussy, you know, like so cowardly. He had no like, he was just like butthurt that no one was paying attention to him the whole time. Like that was the whole reason for what he did. You know, like I want to be important again, so I'm gonna like kill a lot of people and gain the support of this powerful asshole. You know, I just don't like him. I hate him.
I don't think his kid liked him either.
He was just so like spineless.
Yeah, he's super spineless.
I do wonder though if because he is such a terrible character and he is so spineless that is why Shazi is as strong as she is, because she kind of had to be.
Mm-hmm.
So I obviously despised him, but I think it is believable for why she is the way that she is.
Yeah.
Do you think he was always like that, or did like the book like turn him that way?
Well, I think it was as soon as her mom died, that's when he got really depressed, and then she kind of had to be in charge of everything. Yeah, so agreed. He's the worst. Worst. What did you guys think was the most shocking plot twist within the book?
I mean, definitely the Despina thing. I did not see that coming. I wasn't really like shocked the entire book. Oh, okay, no. When her father killed Khalid.
I know.
I was like, no!
But there was no way they were going to let him die.
I don't know. I mean, like, I don't trust people anymore, so.
I was like, nah, they're going to Jon Snow this. He's going to come back. It'll be fine. And they did.
I was worried. I was like, on the one hand, I could see it being like justice for everything that he's done.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be like, okay, like he broke the curse and the town will be okay and everything, and now like he's being punished by dying for what he did. But it would also be too sad. And I was like, I can't decide like which way it's gonna go from here.
Yeah, I couldn't do it.
Well, it kind of went both, because he did technically die.
Yeah.
And he was like, already, he's like, well, yeah, this is, I deserve this. And then he got back to life, so everyone got what they wanted.
I also felt like that was done too quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, first I was like, oh no, he just died, and then all of a sudden, John was like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Let's just bring him back. I was like, okay.
They did it. I could not believe they did that.
And he was only like, oh, my daughter really loved him. I guess I shouldn't have murdered her husband in front of her.
Yeah,
of a bad father.
which she's been telling him for the entire story.
And then he had this weird thing where he was like, I forget what he said. He said something about, I forget what it was, but it was like he made like a big show about how he brought him back to life. Like he finally did what he was meant to do or something ridiculous. And I was like, if you hadn't stabbed him, you wouldn't have needed to do this at all.
Right.
What's wrong with you?
I'm glad that he died.
Nonsensical. Me too. I did not like him. What moment made you guys cry the most, if you cried at all?
Oh God, I cried when Raheem died. I cried when Khalid died. I cried when they got back together. I cried when they saw each other. Okay, you're asking the wrong person because I probably
Melissa cried every other page.
like everything, happy, sad, like you name it. I'm just
Then just get ready for A Court of Mist and Fury.
Oh yeah.
Killing me. Okay, so I read it like right until the book club started, and I'm just like, I'm already dying. Like, how am I gonna work all day knowing it's right there? I'm gonna have to go. Like, I've been sneaking out to the bathroom to read in private. So that's how I finish Wrath in the Dawn. I take my purse, and I'm just like standing there reading.
That's a good trick.
What was the question?
They'll probably think I have like problems. Like, all the time.
I don't cry when I read that often, but I did get really misty after. What did you say his name was? Raheem?
Raheem.
Raheed?
Raheem.
Raheem. Not when he died, but after like Shazi's sister came and visited him, and she like takes that shell she found out of her pocket. She's like, "I got this for you." I was like, for some reason that just really got to me. I was like, ugh. I forgot that he was dead for a second, and it was so sad.
Yeah, that was heartbreaking.
I did not cry either, but I was sad at certain parts, especially like the when Khalid died and when Raheem died. Those were the two parts that I definitely was like the most sad about. But I don't know, there weren't any tears. What did you think about how the second book strayed a lot more from the Arabian Nights retelling?
I was okay with it. I liked it. I mean, I loved the first one and how they did it. Like, that's kind of what drew me in initially to wanting to read it in the first place, because I love retellings. But I feel like this developed such a story of its own angle that just kind of like The Court of Thorn and Roses, like, you forget that it's based on that because it's such its own story. So I didn't mind.
I really enjoyed the retelling in the first book, but I felt like the second book was more about their romance following that. So, like, I forgave it.
I also I like how it turned into its own story instead of being a retelling. That was like super great, but I still did have those other issues with it, and with there not being enough of the romance in the second book.
No, it was so annoying.
Just wanted more. So were you satisfied with the ending, and do you think that there are any loose ends or anything that you wish had been tied up a little bit better?
I did like the ending, because everyone was together and alive except for Raheem. So sad. But, I kind of wanted a little bit more like what Ursa was up to, what she was like studying medicine. That's okay, I guess. But I did like how they had a little kid, and she was telling them stories. Oh, that's what made me cry, because I'm about to cry right now just thinking about it. It was so good.
That was really good. I liked that a lot.
I love that. Like, finally she tells a story, so I like that.
I don't like children, but I liked that they got a happily ever after. I was just like, ugh, they ruined everything by having a kid. But I guess when you're like, you have to make an heir to the kingdom.
Yeah. Besides it all coming too easily, I was pleased with it. But I was also, I had mixed feelings about how that other girl ended up being like the queen or whatever of the other kingdom that was like sisters with Despina.
Mm-hmm.
I forget what her name is now too.
Jasmine? Yasmin?
Yasmin.
Yeah.
Yasmin.
Yeah, I did it.
Because I didn't like her in the first book, and while I get that it was like good that they kept that kingdom within the family, and I feel like he did that like to make a statement and like say that he's not trying to like take over places and stuff. Like I don't necessarily know if she was the right person to be in charge, and I think that she kind of went along with her father for too long for her to be the best person to rule that area.
Right. Can't stand that whole. I wish he died too. I wish they all did. Just like the bad people. That's so mean. But like.
Yeah, but now they just get to suffer for forever. Isn't that better than dying?
That's true.
So.
Do you think that Shazzy's dad redeemed himself at the end of the book?
No, he just became neutral. You know, he killed someone, then he brought him back to life. That's still neutral territory. You know, he hasn't still done a great deed. So I just don't like him. I feel like killing someone is horrible. It's the ultimate deed, and it's your daughter's love. Like bringing her back to life is like the least you could do. You could also bring Raheem back to life. You know, like you should have done more.
Yeah, I also thought it was funny. He was like, I've redeemed myself. I did it. I brought my daughter's husband back to life.
That I killed in the first place.
Dude, like, how's that really redeeming? It's like, remember that time I fucked up 2 minutes ago? Well, I fixed it.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Father of the Year award right here. Goodbye.
Right? I just can't.
If you could only reread one of them, either The Wrath and the Dawn or The Rose and the Dagger, which one would you reread?
Wrath and the Dawn.
I like how you were like, no, wait, no. Yeah.
Yeah, Wrath and the Dawn is perfect to me. Also, I really love stories when, like, I don't know if it's just me or if it's like a thing, but I love when romance is like starting. Like usually books kind of wane and get boring for me after they're like together, and then like I'm just like the excitement and build up and the tension is kind of like eh.
So you like, yeah, like the falling in love part's always more exciting than the and now we're in love and
right. So I always get worried like, how it's gonna work out. Like I was initially worried. Okay, we're not gonna talk about A Court of Mr. Bright because this is not that book club, but and we're not gonna talk about it.
Finished.
I have to finish because I'm obsessed with it.
We haven't even announced that that's our next books.
We'll announce it very soon, though.
Yeah, Wrath and the Dawn.
Yeah, ditto.
Yeah, definitely Wrath and the Dawn. Same for me.
Not that I didn't like this book. I just thought that one was a little better.
Me too.
And it tugged at all my heartstrings.
Yep. It was just so exciting. Like, there are points where, like, when they've had that first kiss in the alley or whatever, like, I reread it 10 times. So,
yeah,
I really want to read that one 10 times.
Melissa was like, the most obsessed with this book, with The Wrath and the Dawn, last year, I think, out of all three of us.
I'm so obsessed. I reread it, like parts of it, like, so many times. I just go back and be like, I have to read this again. I love it.
How many stars did you end up giving The Rose and the Dagger, and would you recommend it to other people?
I ended up giving it all 5 stars because it was my favorite book I've read this year so far. And I would
say
not for long.
Oh, I know. So far. And I would definitely recommend the series to people, and I have.
I also gave it a 5, despite my, like, I would give the first one a 5, and I would give this one like a 4.7 or something.
Yeah, that's a good, yeah.
Just because those little things we talked about. But it was still really beautifully written, and it was a really good conclusion, and I think I enjoyed the duology overall. So, I mean, and it's very important, so I'm glad we got a happy one. And yeah, I would definitely recommend this. I've recommended the first one, and it has gone over really well. I've bought it as gifts. People seem to really enjoy that.
Yeah, I would also give this one 4.5 out of 5 stars because of those like few little things, and I definitely would recommend it to other people to read because I think that it's amazing, and I just really like enjoy her writing. I think that the way that she writes is really beautiful, and while I was reading it, because I read it like partially on Kindle and partially in my physical copy, I ended up like highlighting so much in my Kindle. Like there were just so many beautiful quotes that I was like, wow, these are
beautiful quotes. Beautiful.
So would you read any future books written by Renee Ahdieh?
Definitely. I like her writing style.
Yeah, like for that to be like the first book she wrote, I was like, wow, okay, yeah. I read everything you ever wrote.
Yeah, I thought it was really impressive. I really loved it. I would definitely read more of it too. And then we already just kind of said it, but we'll say it again. Our next book club pick is A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas.
Beautiful.
Mine is like somewhere on the other side of the room in my next book haul pile.
Without the cover, because I'm reading it.
It's a very large book, but it is something that you will read really quickly once you get like into it.
It's how many pages?
Cassie and I both already finished it and loved it. And
I want to read it again.
So do I. I definitely foresee myself rereading it. And I really, like, I just want the third one. I don't know why they can't come out at the same time.
Like, screw everything you're currently writing, Sarah J. Maas, and just write the third book in this. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
What I'm doing with frickin' Selena Sardopian, third book of this.
It's so good.
I want it to be 8,000 pages long.
I know. Like, no word count will be enough, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was getting to the last 20 pages, I was like, this can't be it. I'm like, not ready.
Yeah, and there was so much in those last pages.
Oh my god, I can't handle it. I need to finish it right now.
Yes, you do.
Ugh.
Why don't you guys tell everyone where they can find you on the internet between book clubs?
You can find me everywhere as Mecca Melissa, Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, whatever. That's my site. That's my name.
4chan?
That too. Reddit, you name it.
MySpace?
Definitely MySpace.
Friendster?
Yep.
Just checking. You can also find me everywhere, including Friendster and MySpace. That's not true. Yurchmonger, YRCHMONGER. I'm mostly on Instagram. There's a dog pounding at my door, and I'm very sorry. Instagram, Goodreads, and Twitter are my my big three. And then I also have a book blog, Bibliomantics, which you should go to if you like reading about books and book news and book adaptations and everything to do with books.
And you can find me here on this channel, Super Space Chick on YouTube, and also on Twitter and Instagram and Goodreads. And I think that's all the social media that I use. I've been considering Snapchat because people seem to really love it, but
I don't understand it.
Do it. Okay, so I have been the biggest hater on it, and now I use it all the time.
Really? I just don't know. I'm just so skeptical of it.
Just be friends with me. And
what's the point? What does it do?
But I just, I think I just text you, though. Why am I going to have to use this other thing?
It's funny. It's funny because, you can send, many videos and pictures, and they're, you can use funny filters, and it's just funny. I don't know. I was like you until a week ago, and now I'm a Snapchatter.
But what do you do with it?
Well, what you can do, there's many things. You can either, you can send pictures to people and text to, private ones. I'm going to send you, a private video of me saying, happy birthday or something.
Well, why wouldn't I just text you that then?
Yeah, couldn't you?
Or that's just a private version, because then there's this thing called My Story where you publish it, and it's kind of like your feed. So you can do 20 pictures at once, or a video and a picture, or videos, and it's for the past couple of days or whatever, and it's your story. And people watch it, and then you watch other people's stories. It's
still skeptical.
You can swap faces on it.
Yeah, and I swapped my face with Jason Voorhees last Friday, and it was very scary.
We did do that a few times because Andrew's siblings have it, so we have had a lot of nights where we just switch faces. And I'm like, it's really weird. I'm like, I don't know. I just don't know about this.
It is weird at first, but now I like it. It's funny. Also, okay, this is the main reason I started using it. Best selfie camera ever, because it doesn't flip the image. So me and my friend, Jen, used to just use it to take selfies, but like that's it. Like we wouldn't like use it just to like take selfies to each other, so we wouldn't have to like share them with other people, and then post those selfies on Instagram. Because it's a better selfie camera.
Snapchat intended.
Yeah, that's like why I started using it, to be honest.
That's hilarious.
But try it. It's the best camera ever. It's like amazing. Like all my selfies have improved. Not that I take like 100, but when I do, it's great.
All right. On that note, we
On
will,
that very topical note,
we will let everyone know closer to when we're having our A Court of Mist and Fury live show. I am getting married later this month and going on a honeymoon, so we haven't secured a date yet, but it's gonna happen. So get ready.
not as late as this one.
Yeah. Yeah, this one that we rushed to read the book within 2 days of it coming out so that we were like ready, and then like anyway, so we'll see you guys sometime next month with our next book club, and until then, happy reading and bye.